I'm Judi Manley, Scientific Solutions Consultant here at Benchling, and I'm pleased to be able to introduce one of our customers, Thomas Cayton, a Senior Associate Scientist from GPCR, who will be sharing today on how using cloud-based software has improved the in vivo study management at GPCR. To begin, I want to ask a question. Have you ever wondered why nearly 90% of drugs fail to gain FDA approval? Well, there are a lot of reasons that we won't be able to go into today, but the majority of these can be tied directly to unreliable, irreproducible preclinical data, which is a much bigger problem than people are generally aware of. So how big of a problem is this? This well-known publication highlighted that the prevalence of irreproducible preclinical research exceeds 50% and costs over $28 billion each year in the US alone. So which areas of our research process require improvement? Well, of the over $28 billion wasted every year, over 50% can be attributed to improper study design and inadequate data analysis and reporting. We are incredibly fortunate to live in an era with never seen before technological capabilities, and so we are better positioned than ever to solve these problems. However, we are not going to do this relying on spreadsheets and paper notebooks. It is crucial that we are using more advanced software tools to improve our research process and the data that is subsequently produced. Now, the focus of this presentation is on in vivo research. So how do the stats line up here? Well, I'm afraid to say they're even worse. If we focus specifically on data generated from animal studies, our ability to reproduce falls to just 11%. It's not surprising that so many drugs fail clinical trial when we can only have confidence in 1 in 10 of the studies used to justify progressing in the first place. We know that in vivo programs are highly collaborative and intertwined throughout the research and development lifecycle. We can all appreciate the importance of adequate study management for producing accurate, traceable, and reliable in vivo data to support our IND filings. In vivo study management is a specialized discipline that requires careful oversight of animal protocols, in-life data collection, and sample management. But there's also a high degree of collaboration with other R&D teams that are designing and formulating the lead compounds, as well as the downstream bioanalytical teams that run assays on the samples collected from these in vivo studies. Given how important in vivo programs are, it is imperative that these studies are run efficiently and accurately, with coordinated work streams across aligned R&D teams. For the majority of in vivo teams today, the software being used simply does not support these aims. And the main gap that we have identified is a lack of cohesive option for managing the core in vivo functions, as well as connecting both upstream and downstream R&D teams. The 4 primary functions that we routinely see our customers asking for are study management, colony management, study and assay documentation, and bioanalysis. And they often have a high degree of interaction with frequent transactions needed. For example, animals are transferred from the colony into new studies, or samples transferred from the studies downstream to the bioanalytical teams that are carrying out the analysis. Most preclinical research is carried out using spreadsheets and email for study management, which requires a lot of manual data entry and makes it very difficult to access this data across the teams. In vivo teams often use point solutions for colony management, ALN and LIMS, but this too creates major silos and requires a lot of manual, laborious data transfer. And just as drug development has become faster, more organized and collaborative across many functions, in vivo research also requires the same level of modernization. Otherwise, it risks becoming a bottleneck for R&D programs. In vivo studies require a great deal of functional specialization, managing the colonies, randomizing animals into treatment groups, tracking in-life data, and so much more. Historically, teams have had to rely on spreadsheets or heavily customized in-house applications that are difficult to use and maintain. The truth is that in vivo teams require a more specialized solution, one that supports their key workflow needs while reducing errors, saving time, and increasing collaboration. It's critical that in vivo programs not only have a solution that directly supports study management, but also helps connect their work to other R&D teams that help advance programs using this data. So I'm very pleased to hand over to Thomas, who will tell us a little bit more about how using cloud-based software has impacted the in vivo research at GPCR.
Thank you, Judi. As she has mentioned, my name is Thomas Cayton, and I recently joined GPCR Therapeutics this year after spending over 5 years of my career at BMS in their in vivo pharmacology department. Currently, I'm the point person running the in vivo studies at GPCR and for developing the in-house models that support our oncology pipeline. In my career working for a large pharma and now in innovative biotech, I have used most methods to record data, including old school paper notebooks, Excel spreadsheets, other commercially available study management platforms, and have even entered data directly into our ELN. While it is true that small and large companies have many differences, there are also a lot of similarities in how both collect data and the issues they face. Firstly, in vivo data can be messy, quite messy, and the structure of this data is often different between the various studies we conduct. This makes it really hard for the analyst teams to wrangle and align the data. I know this personally from being a liaison between the in vivo department and the dev teams who have had the task of trying to structure this data. Next, the workflows and preferences vary between scientists, and what works for me may not be something that's the best for someone else. And finally, the data is not structured in a way that is suitable for other applications. When I want to analyze the data in PRISM, I will have to go through a bunch of transformations to make sure the data is ready for the application to do its work. In summary, there just seemed to be no easy solution. When I joined GPCR, there were some spreadsheets created to capture the data for our routine workflows. The advantages of this was that it was quick to create and the data was readable to the human eye, and it was possible for us to do our own templates that could be repeated. It did, however, have drawbacks. Once we expanded and deviated from this routine, it wouldn't scale well for someone with a newer approach to these studies or the introduction of new members who hadn't been involved in its development. And although we can understand the data as it was presented, it was not able to be interpreted by our data processing tools. Also, because it wasn't a spreadsheet, it would not integrate directly with our ELN. We had to import it and later check the versions if we ever wanted to make changes. We also had an incident when some of the formulas were accidentally changed in the spreadsheet, and that had a big impact to our time and productivity. So we knew we were going to move to a new system at GPCR and away from spreadsheets. It was just a matter of which solution. We started our decision process by drawing up a list of the most important things we wanted to see from a replacement. We wanted the In Vivo Study Management system to be interchangeable or integratable into our ELN, so our teams could communicate with each other. We also wanted it to be intuitive and easy to use for both current and new staff joining us. The system chosen needed to be flexible enough to manage our routine studies, as well as adaptable to our new types of studies that we would be implementing. One of the most important factors, however, was beyond the product itself. The company we wanted to work with needed to be open to new feedback and be able to quickly deploy new features to support our scientific progress. And it was essential that the team we worked with from the chosen provider worked with us like a partner and quick to answer our questions and queries. After a short process, we decided on Benchling studies. It addressed our list of requirements by giving us an easy way to compile study data with graphs and allow us to focus on the science and not the product we were using. Also, by allowing management to view the study data in real time, our in vivo team could better communicate with other scientific teams, which is something that the management really appreciated. It also allowed for our data to be exported directly into PRISM, and the way the study platform integrates with our devices saves us time in data collection. We also have been surprised by the number of updates, including new features that have been deployed by the study system. Some that we have requested ourselves, and also some that were implemented by others. The way that they are deployed via the cloud with easy to understand videos and ongoing support means we can continue with our work. A lot of the benefits of choosing Benchling studies is down to it being a cloud native application. The software feature updates are immediate, meaning everyone in our company has access to the latest version and is working collaboratively often on the system at the same time from different locations with no negative effects. Its flexibility to link via APIs and other cloud applications makes moving data between these applications and teams much more simpler. There's also a community effort of Benchling study users where features proposed by another company can be applied to our application so that we are benefiting from the ideas of others. Also, a number of features I proposed have already been implemented, so hopefully others have benefited from these as well. It really does mean that scientists are driving the developments for other scientists and for a common good. So I'll end by saying thank you from me and Judi for taking the time to watch the presentation. For further information about Benchling studies, please scan the QR code or reach out to Benchling directly.